Today, we are diving into a project that has become, well, a modern legend in the firearms community. We're talking about Brandon Herrera's nearly decade-long quest to build a semi-automatic .5 BMG rifle on an AK platform. It's a wild story of ambition, a whole lot of failure, and some incredible engineering. And it all kicked off with one very simple, very dangerous question.
Yeah, how hard could it be? That's literally where it all started, way back in 2016. At the time, Herrera was just fresh out of high school, building AKs in his garage. And you know, the idea came from that place of passion, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of youthful confidence. I mean, the AK is famous for being simple, right? Well, it turns out that scaling that simplicity up by 200% is anything but simple.
The project's whole journey really unfolds over 3 totally distinct versions. We're going to start with version 1, the hopeful first attempt. Then we'll get into version 2, which was a bare-bones reality check. And finally, we'll get to version 3, the polished prototype that's got all the hard-earned lessons baked right in. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. Version 1 was a team-up between Herrera and a local gunsmith. The goal seemed pretty straightforward: build a gun that looked and felt just like a giant AK. They really focused on copying that classic form, kind of hoping the function would just follow along.
So this first rifle was basically a direct, scaled-up copy of a milled receiver AK. And to keep the cost from getting totally out of hand, they used a repurposed barrel from a surplus Browning M2 machine gun. But the wildest detail? It was designed to use a standard, original-sized AK fire control group, the trigger, the hammer, all sitting inside this absolute monster of a frame.
And here is where they hit their first massive wall. The gun did almost everything right. It fired that enormous .50 BMG round no problem. The action cycled back, it pulled the spent casing out, and it even kicked it out. But the one thing it could never, ever do? Strip a new round from the magazine and feed it into the chamber. So you had a 3/4 success, which in firearm design means it was a 100% failure. The form was there, but the most important function was just gone.
So, with the lessons from version 1 learned the hard way, the project took a sharp, dramatic turn around 2019. Enter version 2. This time, all the pretty aesthetics, those got thrown right out the window. The new goal was singular and brutally functional. Just make the thing feed.
This comparison right here really tells the whole story of that philosophical shift. The expensive, complicated, milled receiver from V1 was completely scrapped for a simple piece of bent square tube stock. Super cheap, super easy to modify. The goal was no longer to look like an AK. The goal was simply to solve that critical feeding problem. And by stripping everything back to pure, raw function, they finally did it.
So the key to finally solving that feeding problem was to abandon a core feature of the AK. They realized that just making the classic 2-lug AK bolt bigger wasn't going to work. So instead, they adopted this 3-lug triangular bolt head. It was a huge concession, but it was a necessary one. This is the proven design used in pretty much every other successful semi-auto 50 cal out there, from the Barrett to the Serbu. It was the breakthrough they absolutely needed.
This really gives you an idea of just how raw and unrefined V2 was. I mean, it was never meant to be shouldered. It was fired from a tripod. It had no top cover, no buttstock, not even a charging handle. They took a big shortcut by designing it around the already proven Barrett M82 magazine. And yeah, that SpongeBob tape, that was a very real and very unsuccessful attempt to keep the magazine from falling out under recoil. V2 was ugly as sin, but it worked. It proved the core concept was finally viable.
Okay, now we get to version 3. With that feeding problem finally put to bed, the team could now try to merge the raw function of V2 with the original aesthetic goal of V1. The objective was clear: create something that not only works reliably, but actually looks and feels like a professional, finished firearm.
And this is where the project truly went pro. It evolved from a garage build into a serious collaboration with professional CNC shops. All the critical, high-stress parts like the bolt, the carrier, and that massive aluminum handguard were now being manufactured by specialists, including a collaboration with titans of CNC, and that got them a level of precision that was just impossible to do in-house.
And you can really see that professional approach in the final design. The result is a nearly toolless field strip that's incredibly simple and intuitive. This kind of user-friendly design is a hallmark of mature engineering, and it's a massive leap forward from the cobbled-together prototypes that came before it.
Now, what's so brilliant about V3 is how it borrows proven ideas from other iconic firearms. They took dust cover concepts from the Saga 12 shotgun, a hinge design from the PKM machine gun, a special gas piston cup from a Mag-58 to soften the extraction, and a bump pin from modern AKs to make sure the bolt rotates smoothly. This isn't just copying, this is intelligently cherry-picking the best ideas from decades of firearms evolution and putting them all into one new design.
And really, nothing shows the project's evolution better than the barrel. They went from using a cheap, repurposed surplus machine gun barrel in the early versions to commissioning a custom-made, match-grade precision barrel for V3. It's the perfect metaphor for the entire project's journey from a budget-conscious experiment to a truly high-performance machine.
But even with all these advanced features, it is still an AK at its heart. It uses a standard AK pistol grip and, unbelievably, it still uses that standard AK fire control group. But scaling everything up created new problems. See, the longer pins needed for the wider receiver would actually bend under stress. So they engineered these clever external support brackets to solve that problem. It's a great example of the cascading challenges you find in design.
And that brings us to today. Version 3 is a remarkable achievement. It's a functional, reliable, and frankly, an incredible piece of engineering. But it's not finished. In the world of complex projects like this one, the work is truly never done. To date, V3 has fired around 500 rounds. Now, for a prototype of this complexity, that's a huge milestone. It proves the design is sound, that it can withstand the immense forces of the .50 BMG cartridge, but it also highlights that this is still very much in the testing and refinement phase.
This quote right here perfectly captures the spirit of the entire project. When asked what they would change for a potential version 4, the team didn't just have one or two ideas. They had a whole book. The book of things that need to change. Tweaking a radius here, adjusting a magazine lockup there, this is what real engineering looks like. A continuous, never-ending process of improvement.
So, after almost 10 years of relentless work, the AK-50 sits at a crossroads. It's an absolute testament to what a small, dedicated team can achieve. But the final question still hangs in the air. Will this incredible engineering saga finally end with a product that people can one day own? Or will it forever remain a legendary, one-of-a-kind monument to that simple question, how hard could it be?